Yes. Jon Stewart has a podcast and AOC was on it. And boy, do we have some great clips for you. So I want to start by saying when Trump won his election, it became clear that the media people in the Democratic side were like, "Oh my God, how did we miss that the podcast circuit? Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and maybe Lex Friedman. I don't know anyone that fucking watches Lex Friedman, so I think Candace Owens is right about him maybe having ties to some like intelligence shit because like who fucking cares about Lex Friedman?
Now, people believe that Lex Friedman works for the CIA. Obviously, the CIA has, we know this via Project Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird, that they have people that they just create fame for. They make them famous, allegedly also people like Anderson Cooper, who was a CIA intern. And they give these people a following. They recommend their videos. And the idea of doing that is to promote things that the state wants, okay? They believe he's CIA/Mossad. We all kind of think they're the same organization. He did do his PhD thesis under a former IDF minister or somebody that worked for the IDF who went to Tel Aviv University. And he blocks everyone that calls him CIA or Mossad, which is also interesting. His backstory just doesn't make any sense, you guys. Like I said, if he was some remarkable talent, and I'd be like, oh, now I could kind of get it why everyone's going on his podcast. I can't watch it. It's too boring for me to listen to him, okay?
Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Point is, the quote-unquote left suddenly decided that a podcaster voice was needed because Joe Rogan helped win the election. And so it's clear that like they're going to Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart's like, well, I got to jump in and help, because, I'm the trusted voice among the liberals and the left. And so I'm going to start doing a podcast and I'm going to help reshape the Democratic Party to be better. And unfortunately for Jon, I think the Democratic Party is pretty much dead. Like this is what they should have done, 6 years ago, right? Like the whole of the Bernie movement, like, the Democratic Party had their moment and they stomped it and said, no, we're going with Liz Cheney. Like it's over, really. I tried so hard and got so far. So I went into this, with that mindset, of course, because, it's a ridiculous idea to even think that the Democratic Party is worth trying to save. But they just really kick off this conversation by showing a stunning, what I call slosa, a stunning lack of self-awareness, and this is what the Democrats honestly do best, is they just a complete and total lack of self-awareness, just like you see it right now with the Elon Musk is a Nazi thing. Like, okay, clearly Elon Musk did that Nazi salute intentionally. Yeah! Pretend that it was like autism or whatever. He clearly did it because he knew that a bunch of would fucking make a huge deal out of it and just thought, he's a Nazi. Meanwhile, like, who did it hurt? And what has he done in reality to slaughter, like, countless women and children? Like Joe Biden and fucking Kamala Harris just did for months under Antony Blinken. Keep on bombing lots of people. Anyway, here's the opening salvo from AOC and Jon Stewart, and just let's bask in the glory of their ignorance.
I was like, all right, I've seen enough.
And nothing surprising. Was it strange to you, one thing that struck me was sort of this sense that the Bidens or the Democrats wanted to preserve this decorum. It was I have to say, it was such a surreal scene to see someone who had attempted what he had attempted at the Capitol be handed the reins of.
Okay, so right there, attempted what? Like, these people think Donald Trump tried to overthrow the fucking election still. So their entire dumb fuck worldview is still built on that foundation that's completely fake. That hopefully we find out more in the coming years. But I mean, it was clear to me from the beginning, because I knew people who were actually there, like indie on the ground reporters who were not right wing. And, I saw footage of people who weren't insurrectionists. And I saw how the media spun it. And then I saw how they hired a goddamn producer to do a TV show style trial around it and just propagandize people. But let me let them finish here, because I just wanted to note that their entire worldview is based on like the idea that Donald Trump tried to fucking overthrow the election right out the gate. So they're fucking morons.
Power, not just in a peaceful transfer, but one that seemed to want to honor the tea ceremony. And is there a middle ground between storming the Capitol and would you like oolong or throat coat? Like what are we doing?
I totally agree with it. But this is like a thing in the Democratic Party. This is a thing, particularly with the Democratic establishment. It is this like, I actually think it speaks a lot to some of the class differences and the class striation in the Democratic Party, because
so I just want to say too, AOC does have some kind of moments of intelligence in this conversation, and you'll see them, and I'll give her credit where they're due, because even right here, she's kind of like letting you in on some truth, but then she just doesn't. The lack of self-awareness is where it becomes obvious. Like, okay, wait, you see this, but you still act like these other things are true that are totally fucking not.
So yesterday was also MLK Day.
Boy, did that get lost.
Yeah. Yes, it did.
So no, it didn't actually. But listen to Trump. This is directly from Trump's mouth from the inauguration day.
To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and his honor, this will be a great honor, but in his honor, we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true.
So there you go. Wow, it's like you wouldn't have even known it was MLK Day because Trump was being inaugurated, And I just think that, dress it up in a podcast, Jon Stewart and AOC, like that. Joe Rogan didn't help win the election because of a podcast. It's because it's actually authentic. And you can kind of see the difference with these. This is like totally edited and scripted and like, they've got makeup on. Like AOC's got made up, and it's not like just a raw conversation like a Joe Rogan show is. It's like a scripted thing of them trying to do what they think is gonna help them get back, the ground that they've lost, but they're not going to get it back because the Democrats are terrible. So here's the next like stunning lack of self-awareness piece. Yeah. So listen to this. This is just
this go around with Trump so much more dangerous than the first time around is exactly what you're saying. It's that he is much more normalized this time around than he was.
Here's what's funny about this, because this is a tweet from Jon Stewart's Twitter account, and you'll notice where it cuts in. I have the full context of this clip right here. And what she says before this is actually pretty good. But right here, she just seems out of touch.
As the first time. The first time people were really on edge. They were on guard. They were very vigilant about any break that he would have with these norms.
So I think this is funny too. She's like, yeah, the first time people were like very propagandized about Trump and like what his administration would be like. So, and what she's saying is this time people aren't like freaking out like they were last time. And that's what's scary. Yeah, because people know that you guys are full of shit. People know that your shit about Trump being a Nazi is fucking garbage bullshit. We all know it's fake now. But I digress.
This time, the norms are becoming him. Like the norms are embracing him. Even these like little things that people may not, like everyday working people may not care about, but they are strong cultural signals. Oscar de la Renta, like dressing all of the women.
See, that's what she's upset about. She's like, how dare Oscar de la Renta, one of my favorite designers, and he's dressing Trump's people. Oh my God.
And like, there's all these cultural symbols, right?
I see. Participating now in this when they
Yeah.
wouldn't have participated in the past.
Exactly.
I see what you're
Exactly. So like all of these people that were scared before about like being associated with him from the most common basic level to the most elite level, they're all like they're all in now because this is now a billionaire feeding frenzy. It is a kiss-ass race.
Man.
It is, how can I show how
This is a billionaire kiss-ass feeding frenzy. Like, again, this is how out of touch these dumb cunts are. This is from the DNC. J.B. Pritzker, billionaire.
Claims to be very rich, but take it from an actual billionaire. Trump is rich in only one thing: stupidity. He claims to be very.
Now he's rich in only one thing: political power, because he actually won. But again, how disconnected from reality do you have to be to just sit there? That, like, this is the thing that I think the Democrats really don't understand, is all this moral pleading about Trump. Like, no one cares about it because you do it all too. Like, how can you sit and talk shit about billionaires when Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are insider trading and making hundreds of millions of dollars? You can't come out and say, you know, billionaires, or it's a feeding frenzy for billionaires, after you just had this guy at your convention talking about how Trump's not a real billionaire.
He claims to be very rich, but take it from an actual billionaire.
Listen to him cheer. Yay! Yay!
Trump is rich in only one thing: stupidity.
Yay! Yay!
Claims to be very.
I've got mail. Jesus Christ. Anyway, back to this
fealty I have to Donald Trump in order to get my digs. And I think what's really important for people to understand, and like now and every day of this administration, is that you're being ripped off. You're being ripped off, dude. Like, everyone is being ripped off. And
yeah, so you're being ripped off by Trump, but let's get into this.
You have to fight the cancer of corruption.
These people all just got pardons, AOC, and this is a report from 2019 about, it's called Biden Inc. from Politico. Listen.
Going back decades, relatives of Joe Biden have either pursued business ventures that have overlapped in some way with Biden's political career. Joe Biden is someone who has a reputation for being very close with his family, but it's been reported over the years that he avoids talking business with members of his family. Some of the pitfalls of that approach to managing his relationship with his family, because members of his family have got involved with business ventures that have raised questions. Members of Joe Biden's family.
So how do you go on TV and say, go on the floor of the House or whatever and go, Trump is so corrupt and this is just a handout to corrupt billionaires and businessmen, when this is who you support unquestionably? I never heard you talk about any of this.
Family ran a hedge fund called Paradigm, a special kind of a investment fund that usually deals with riskier or more unusual.
In fact, you simped for it. You defended this. You protected. You helped shield Biden from accountability for partisan reasons, because the other side was the ones who were advocating for it.
Types of investments. It was bought in 2006 primarily by James and Hunter Biden. James Biden is a younger brother of
I just
Joe
want to say
Biden.
too, the point of me showing you this isn't that, like, I don't think Paradigm, this hedge fund that they're talking about here that Biden and his family ran, even exists anymore. But it just shows you the kind of people they are and the history of corruption that they have. So and then he just pardoned all of them on his way out. So AOC coming out here and be like, it's a feeding frenzy for billionaires. It's so corrupt. Like, Get over yourself, you dumb person.
Biden. Hunter Biden is Joe Biden's younger son, and he was a co-owner of Paradigm. James Biden proceeded to discuss his vision for Paradigm. He said that there were deep-pocketed foreigners who wanted to support Joe Biden, so instead James Biden was intending to get them to invest in Paradigm. According to the executive who was president, Beau Biden came bright red, angrily said to his Uncle James that this is not something that he's going to have anything to do with.
So it's interesting to know Beau Biden was the guy with the conscience, and he's the guy that's no longer with us. Interesting, isn't it? Like, this is why I can't help but respect Jon Stewart. He kind of points out how fake the Democrats are by calling Trump a fascist and a Nazi, you know, all the shit that AOC was talking about, how people are normalized. He's normalized now because people don't buy the propaganda that he's a fascist anymore. Jon Stewart kind of points out how the Democrats give the game away here on that. Like they clearly don't believe it. And then that leads into the clip. You'll see the clip that I showed you a minute ago.
It reveals some of the Democrats posturing as performative. You know, when you're creating apocalyptic messaging about a fascist,
Literally
coming over and doing these things.
Yeah, what I think is funny here too is she leans in like literally, like he's a fascist, but she's not getting the point Jon Stewart's making.
And then when he wins, sitting down with watercress sandwiches and cream cheese and doing the whole 9 yards, it makes you wonder, well, did you believe any of the shit you were saying before?
No, they didn't, John. They did not believe any of that. They will say and do whatever they would say and do whatever they could to keep that guy out of office. And now it's clear why, based on the shit he's doing. You know, they were going to do anything. Of course, they like, well, it makes you wonder if they're really serious. But no, they're not serious about it. Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
Or was that something, again, that was just a part of your messaging?
Yeah, no.
Yes. Or was it? See, that's a good question, John. But like, you know the answer to that question. You know the answer.
Oh, it's really true. And I think something that
listen to the way that she kind of, and this is where that other clip starts. She kind of like turns left here.
What makes this go around with Trump so much more dangerous than the first time around is exactly what you're saying. It's that he is much more normalized this time around.
So this is the full like context there. Like she totally missed the point intentionally, probably there. But what he's saying is, if Trump was like, the Democrats spent the entire election saying this guy's a fascist and a threat to democracy, and then when he won, they're all sitting down to fucking, you know, play nice with him. So it makes you wonder if they didn't just make that up. It was just part of their messaging. Yes, it was. Clearly, they don't believe that. But she's gonna keep playing that game. Listen, and then she goes into like, now Trump has been normalized. Yeah, AOC, because people know that you guys are fucking fakes. And that's what Jon Stewart just pointed out. Listen to her. And I might have to play this again, but listen to what she says.
Than he was the first time. The first time people were really on edge. They were on guard. They were very vigilant about any break that he would have with the...
Why were they vigilant? Because they were propagandized into believing the guy was a Russian spy by a bunch of morons and the Clinton campaign, who paid a literal fine for that dossier. The Clinton campaign had the same thing. Yeah, I won't even go down that rabbit hole right now, but it's terrible. People believed Trump was a secret Russian spy. That's why now he's normalized, because no one buys your dumb shit anymore. Because like Jon Stewart said, people realize it was just part of your messaging.
These norms. This time, the norms are becoming him.
On Jon Stewart's feed, they started the conversation from where AOC comes in, where she goes, he's normalized now. But listen to the question John asks her, and they cut that out.
It reveals some of the Democrats posturing as performative. You know, when you're
He's like,
creating apocalyptic messaging about a fascist.
Literally.
Literally.
Yeah, she's still like, yeah, literally, he's such a fascist.
Coming over and doing these things. And then when he wins, sitting down with watercress sandwiches and cream cheese and doing the whole 9 yards, it makes you wonder, well, did you believe any of the shit you were saying before?
Exactly.
Nope, they did not. And then AOC goes on to prove that of course they didn't. They didn't believe any of that shit. Tim Cass pulled this clip, but Jon Stewart kind of actually accidentally traps her on this a little bit. And it's kind of funny. So listen to this.
And if you have a criminal record, if you've, sexually assaulted somebody, you should be deported. And so that's the guise of this bill, right? And they said, so that should be the law. Except that's not what's in this law. Because A, that is existing U.S. law. It is existing U.S. law.
Why isn't it done then?
And, well, I mean,
why isn't it done? Yeah,
I think there are individual cases where.
Why isn't it enforced? I'll tell you why, John, because there are a lot of big companies, mega corporations that, are able to net a shit ton more profit by using cheap immigrant labor that they can just dispose of if they try to unionize or anything like that. That's why.
I'm not sure, but this is what the right does. They exploit these like very narrow individual cases. But the existing law in the United States is that if you are undocumented.
So listen, I do think there's some truth to that the right like exploits immigrants a little bit, where it's like, oh, these people are criminals and they killed this one person. Yeah, okay, an immigrant killed a girl, he should go to jail, whatever. So should Americans. There's more American criminals than immigrant criminals. Like, most immigrants are just here to try and work a job and send money home to their families or whatever. Like, they're not bad people. I do think that the right unfairly demonizes immigrants like in a way that they probably shouldn't. But it's also like, you get called a racist if you're like, yeah, we should like have secure borders and people shouldn't just willy-nilly be allowed to come in. There should be like some framework, like some real law behind that, because as Rogan and Tim Dillon were talking about the other day, I think our society kind of understands now, like, we need to have like healthcare, we need to provide certain safety net things for our society, and if we're going to do that, resources are limited, so it needs to be prioritized for citizens, period. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't help people if they go to the hospital or whatever, like it's a whole other ball of wax, but let me let these cunts finish.
And you commit a crime, you are put on priority number 1 for deportation. That is standing U.S. law.
And it's not like we don't deport a lot of people, even in Democratic administrations.
Right. Republicans
that's
say,
a good point.
Okay,
Obama deported more people than Trump did. And that's largely because the powers that be didn't want to work with Trump. So here is kind of the final AOC Jon Stewart clip that we'll talk about today.
How about everybody like can go to a doctor and you're like, what are you, a communist? And you're like, no, that's the whole world does that.
Well, that's
except
the thing.
What she says.
Our country is remarkably propagandized.
Boom! Yes! So much so, they think January 6th was an insurrection, and they think that Donald Trump is a fascist because you guys propagandize them. Like, this is, again, the stunning lack of self-awareness. Let's hear that one more time.
Our country is remarkably propagandized. Like,
yes. So, again, I think, like I said, with the healthcare thing, the right is largely on this page now. They understand that the healthcare system is broken. So we're on that page. And the propaganda thing is so good because these people are the most propagandized and they don't even realize it. That's the hilarious part. Let's keep listening.
We are remarkably propagandized. And that's what I'm talking about. A lot of working class people voted for Donald Trump.
Sure. I mean, he gained a tremendous amount in that area.
He gained a tremendous amount in that area. They voted for him despite the fact that he has a Supreme Court that guts labor rights, that they are overwhelmingly opposed to raising a minimum wage, that they are really, that they're gutting the civil rights around working people and organizing, let alone.
So here's the thing about this issue specifically that Democrats don't understand. It's so clear that you guys pay fealty to this kind of stuff, but then do nothing about it. So when you have an option, because I don't think she's completely wrong about, the right, like, and their take on working people, they're not advocates of the working class historically. Now, maybe things have changed. We're going to see. We're going to find out. But to be honest, I mean, the immigration thing is a pro-working class thing because the job market is, I mean, and I can say this, the debate around the H-1B visas and everything. I worked in tech. I had a recruiter tell me the other day, this is not even a joke. A recruiter told me the other day that a lot of companies laid people off in 2022 because they could bring in immigrants on cheap visas and hire or outsource because everyone works remote now. So if you work remote, the market is much more saturated because if you can work remote in India and they can pay you half the salary of an American, they're going to fucking do that. So it's like when you listen to AOC talk about how, oh, the Republicans are like the anti-working class, maybe, but like we've been voting for Democrats for 20 years and you guys haven't done anything to help the working class. Anything. You crushed a railroad strike under Biden. You can all work together to stop the railroad strike. And all they wanted was a couple extra days off. So you just don't have any kind of high ground or any kind of, intellectual foundation anymore to make this argument from, because the Democrats have done nothing but pay fealty to the working class and shit like this. And to be honest, things like Roe v. Wade, they had the power for years to codify their worldview into law and do the kind of things the Republicans are doing. And they didn't do it because that's not their role. They are right wingers. They're there to be the fall guy for a right wing agenda. But I think what's happened now is that became so much the case that all the really bad neocon Republicans moved into the Democratic Party. And the carcass that was left over was like the libertarian Ron Paul people. And Trump was able to sweep in and take advantage of that back in 2016 with a little bit more of a populist message. And it resonated. And so, after being stomped repeatedly by the Democrats, the Bernie people, a lot of the populists on the left finally went, okay, we can cut deals with the Trump people on certain policy, like Ross Ulbricht, for example. That's a great step in the right direction. Anyway, let's let these two out of touch clowns finish here.
Women and voting rights and for Black folks and immigrants, like put all of that aside, just on a working class front, because what Zuckerberg and Bezos and all these people sitting behind them, they don't just represent billionaires. They represent all of the communication.
So again, it's like, dude, we're not stupid, AOC. She talks about Bezos and Zuckerberg and Elon. Elon's new to the game, obviously, but she conveniently leaves out Reid Hoffman, who is the fucking LinkedIn guy. Basically, was trying to get Lena Khan out of the one good thing Biden did was have Lena Khan in the fucking. Even JD Vance was a fan of Lena Khan because she was like very like pro worker. And that's another aspect of Trump that people are totally missing is the JD Vance part of the equation, because has a long political history of being very pro working class and from the working class. Even though he's a Yale guy, he came from humble roots. Anyway, I don't know how much more of this we need to listen to, but
platforms that people use in the United States. So the TikTok CEO is saying, we work for Trump. Meta, Instagram, and Facebook CEO is saying, we work for Trump. Of course, you've got Elon with his like jumping around on a stage. All of them are saying,
again, okay, so this is the other thing about Elon. Like people are like, oh, Elon's a Nazi. Guess what? It's how very Hitler of you, Mr. Hitler, to allow millions upon millions of people to criticize you for making a Nazi gesture on your goddamn platform. Maybe he's censoring people. I don't know. If you got evidence that he's censoring people for that, put it in the comments. But it just seems like like so out of touch to pretend that like Elon Musk is this Nazi. When, again, my take is he did that on purpose. Oh, God, Elon did a Nazi symbol. Meanwhile, Biden and Harris are nuking little kids in Gaza. But Elon Musk did a Nazi symbol that harmed who? Nobody. Your feelings. That's it. Priorities are so out of whack with these people, and then they wonder why they can't win an election. So just to hammer a little more on AOC before we sign off for the day?
That was what Hannity got his panties in a bunch when I said
she's
it.
young,
You know,
she's
like,
vibrant,
oh, shit,
she's
I'm gonna get in
beautiful,
trouble.
and everyone's always putting a camera and a mic in her face. But her opinions are idiotic 95% of the time. And I don't think if she was a middle-aged, heavy-set woman, anyone would care what she had to say. I'm not so sure I agree.
I do, actually. I do agree with that somewhat. I do think AOC is a fucking beautiful woman. And I think that a lot of the reason that people want to talk to her is because she's fucking hot. I mean, look at Jon Stewart's like almost blushing over there. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that either. I don't think that disqualifies her. And I also don't think he's right about 95% of the things being said are stupid. I don't think she's a stupid person. I do think she's a partisan hack who says what the Democrats want her to say, because the reason she even has a following, I'm going to remind you, is because of this.
The ruckus on the Democratic Party. That is our job.
So I made this post a couple years ago kind of defending Jimmy Dore when Jimmy Dore was attacked for being a fucking misogynist for calling out AOC for her bullshit. And this is what I said. I said the reason so much anger is directed at AOC and the squad has zero to do with sexism or racism and stems from the reality that they were elected to bring the ruckus on the Democratic Party. That sounds so hip hop, like something the Wu-Tang would say. Here's how it looks, though. So watch my video here.
Post had this alleged information and was trying to publish it without any corroboration, without any backup information. They were trying to publish it to Twitter. Twitter did not let them, and now they were upset.
Our country is remarkably propagandized.
She thinks like Russian disinformation is a thing. She's propagandized.
Our job.
New York Post had this alleged information and was trying to publish it without any corroboration, without any backup information. They were trying to publish it to Twitter.
And again, it's like what's upsetting about this is it's clear that she doesn't care what's right or wrong. She's just defending her team. That's the kind of thing that I don't respect from either side. And here's AOC showing who she really is.
Twitter did not let them, and now they were upset.
And we commissioned an independent forensic review to determine its authenticity. Senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge joins us now with what we found. Catherine, I'm very interested. Good morning.
Good morning, Tony. These House Republican investigations are coming, and that could be a challenge for the White House as we head into 2023 and 2024. The laptop data we had analyzed showed no evidence it was faked or tampered with.
So that reporter right there, Catherine Herridge, was literally fired and I think charged with something after this too. So AOC wants to sit here and talk about fascism and all this shit with Trump. Holy fucking shit. Pull your head out of your ass, AOC. This woman, Catherine Herridge right here, was fired or fucking prosecuted by the government for reporting accurately on this Hunter Biden laptop. Okay, so Catherine Herridge, court appears unlikely to spare former Fox News reporter. So this is from Politico. In contempt fight. So a federal appeals court panel appears unlikely to rescue former Fox News reporter facing. Look how they even paint her as a Fox News reporter. When she reported on this, she was on ABC. Facing fines and potentially jail time for refusing to identify her source for a series of stories about a woman with ties to the Chinese People's Liberation Army. The case involving reporter Catherine Herridge could become the first big showdown over press freedom during President Donald Trump's second term, as President Trump will lack the power to directly waive the fine or potential jail time that Herridge faces, but he could order the Justice Department to settle an underlying lawsuit filed by the woman. Yan Ping Chen. Settling the suit would wipe away the fines and any other punishment against Herridge. Trump has long praised and amplified Herridge's reporting on other topics, especially her stories that raise questions about the investigations he faced in 2017 and 2018 over his presidential campaign's contacts with Russia. And that right there is why she's being persecuted. Journalists should be allowed to have anonymous sources. That's part of what journalism is. Anyway, sidebar there.
Digital forensic investigator Mark.
Democratic Party does not do more unless it is pushed. So we need to push them. And they don't like it.
And I'm not going to do it. I'm going to wear a dress that says tax the rich at the Met Gala.
Them, but but that is our job. That's our job. Start bringing
Just go ahead and Google Biden Inc. and you'll find that Politico article, because that guy goes into intense detail about all the corrupt shit that the Bidens were doing before he actually became president. I'm surprised it's still on the internet, to be honest. So AOC is wildly out of touch, and Jon Stewart, man, like, he has some moments in there where he really kind of comes through, I think, but overall, just not a good look for Jon Stewart. I just think that he's trying to help the Democrats rebrand themselves, and they're clearly going to try to elevate AOC as a presidential candidate in the coming years or whatever. She's the new face of the party because she's a good little doggy who won't fight too hard for the things that should change, and will defend clearly corrupt figures within her own party. I think it's interesting to me, when I saw this in my feed, this Jon Stewart AOC interview, it to me, I went, oh, I can smell this. I can smell what's going on here. I can smell what y'all are cooking. Y'all are cooking like the new Joe Rogan lefty thing that it's just so fake and so kind of like produced too. It's like, even for a podcast, it like looks very like put together and kind of like not like a raw conversation. I'm sure there was parts of it that were edited. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe John just posted up. But again, the reason people like Joe Rogan is because it's a raw, authentic conversation between two people. And it's not just, some edited, produced narrative shaper